Pathetic, my father spat, his grip tightening around my wrist. You can barely afford rent, and you think you can manage Grandpa's estate? The pain shot through my arm as he twisted it against the mahogany table, the family photos watching silently from the walls. My name is Daniel, and at 32, I was facing my family's true colors in our weekly meeting. The inheritance from my grandfather had become a battlefield, and I was outnumbered. Just sign it over to Marcus, my mother pleaded, watching my father's grip tighten. Your brother knows what he's doing. He has experience. Marcus, my younger brother, sat across the table, his expensive suit and smug smile a stark contrast to my simple clothing. Come on, Danny, be reasonable. You're living in a tiny apartment, driving that old car. What do you know about managing millions? What they didn't know was that my tiny apartment was actually my research facility, and that old car was my choice to maintain a low profile. I'd spent years developing something revolutionary, but they'd never bothered to ask what I actually did for a living. The crack was sudden and sickening. My father's frustration turned to rage as I refused to sign, and he slammed my hand against the table's edge. The pain was excruciating, but I didn't make a sound. Robert, my mother gasped, but she didn't move to help me. Sign it, my father demanded, pushing the papers toward me again. I stood up slowly, cradling my injured hand. No. Marcus laughed. Look at him, can't even afford proper clothes, and he wants to manage Grandpa's legacy. Dad's right. You're a disgrace. The family photos on the walls seemed to mock me, perfectly staged pictures of the perfect family. If only they knew what I'd built while they were busy judging my appearance. I'll give you 1 week, my father said, his voice cold. Sign over the inheritance, or you're no longer part of this family. I walked to the door, my hand throbbing. You know, Grandpa chose me for a reason. He saw something you never bothered to look for. What? Your failed experiments? Your mysterious job that you never talk about? Marcus sneered. Face it, brother, you're just poor and delusional. I paused at the doorway, looking back at them one last time. My mother, wringing her hands but staying silent. My father, red-faced with anger. Marcus, already reaching for the inheritance papers like they were his birthright. 3 months, I said quietly. What? My father barked. In 3 months, you'll understand why Grandpa chose me. With that, I walked out, leaving them to their assumptions and judgments. At the hospital, the doctor confirmed what I already knew. My hand was broken. As she wrapped it in a cast, she asked how it happened. I simply said it was an accident, but my mind was already working on what came next. That evening, in my tiny apartment, I looked at the complex machinery and blueprints that covered the walls. My team had been working on this project for 5 years, funded by private investors who believed in my vision. Tomorrow, we would announce our breakthrough to the world. My phone buzzed with messages from my mother. Please be reasonable. Your father didn't mean to hurt you. Think about the family name. I turned off my phone and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. They thought I was poor because I chose to live simply. They assumed I was a failure because I didn't flaunt my work. In 3 months, everything would change. My assistant, Oliver, came in with the final reports. The tests are successful, sir. We're ready for the announcement. I nodded, my injured hand a reminder of what I'd endured. Schedule the press conference for tomorrow. And Oliver, make sure my family receives front row invitations. They won't know what hit them, he said, grinning. Looking at my bandaged hand, I smiled. No, they won't. The next morning, my family's reaction to the press conference invitations was exactly what I expected. Marcus left a sneering voicemail. A press conference? For what, your latest failed invention? This is pathetic, even for you. My mother texted, Daniel, please stop this attention-seeking behavior. Just sign the papers. They didn't show up, of course. But as I stood on the stage at the Technology Innovation Center, my bandaged hand hidden behind my back, I knew their absence would soon become their biggest regret. Ladies and gentlemen, I began facing the crowd of journalists, investors, and industry leaders. 5 years ago, I started working on a project that many called impossible. Today, I'm proud to announce that Phoenix Industries has developed the world's first fully sustainable fusion reactor. The room erupted in gasps and camera flashes. The secret I'd kept from my family was finally out. I wasn't just some failed inventor. I was the founder and CEO of Phoenix Industries, a company that had just revolutionized the energy sector. As I demonstrated our technology, my phone buzzed continuously in my pocket. My family had finally seen the live broadcast. Their messages ranged from disbelief to sudden attempts at reconciliation. Marcus, this is some kind of joke, right? Mother, why didn't you tell us? Father, call me immediately. I ignored them all, focusing on the questions from reporters and handshakes from impressed investors. By the end of the day, our company's value had skyrocketed. The poor son had just become one of the most talked about innovators in the country. That evening, as I sat in my office overlooking the city, Oliver brought in the latest news reports. Your family's been trying to get past security all afternoon, he said, placing a tablet on my desk. Your brother seems especially persistent. I glanced at the security footage. Marcus in his expensive suit, arguing with our guards, waving what looked like our old family photos. Let them try, I replied, turning back to my work. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Phoenix Industries was on every major news channel. Our fusion reactor technology was being hailed as the solution to the global energy crisis. Investment offers poured in, and our stock value multiplied daily. My family's attempts to contact me grew more desperate. My mother left tearful voicemails about family unity. Marcus tried to claim he'd always believed in me. But it was my father's message that caught my attention. Son, his voice was gruff, uncomfortable. About your hand, I may have reacted poorly, but you have to understand, we were just trying to protect the family legacy. Now that we know about your success, perhaps we can discuss a fresh start. I looked at my hand, still in its cast. The family legacy they were so desperate to protect was nothing compared to what I'd built. Their narrow vision of success, fancy clothes, expensive cars, showing off wealth, had blinded them to real achievement. Oliver knocked on my door, interrupting my thoughts. Sir, the helicopter's ready for the Tokyo meeting. I smiled, remembering my promise. Change of plans, Oliver. Take me to my parents' house first. Are you sure? He asked, knowing the full story. It's been almost 3 months, I replied. Time to keep my word. The sound of helicopter blades cutting through the air must have drawn every neighbor's attention. As we descended onto the perfectly manicured lawn of my parents' estate, I could see them rushing out, father, mother, and Marcus, all staring up in disbelief. Through the window, I watched their expressions change from shock to recognition as they saw me in the cockpit. The Phoenix Industries logo on the helicopter's side gleamed in the sunlight, a stark contrast to the old car they'd mocked just months ago. Ready? Oliver asked as we touched down. I looked at my hand, finally free from its cast but still bearing the marks of that day. More than ready. The time had come to show them exactly why Grandpa had chosen me to carry on his legacy, not because I knew how to flaunt wealth, but because I knew how to create it. As I stepped out of the helicopter, the wind whipping across the lawn, my family stood frozen. Their eyes darted between my face, the helicopter, and the Phoenix Industries logo. My father's usual commanding presence seemed to shrink with each step I took toward them. Daniel, my mother whispered, reaching out, but stopping short of touching me. We've been trying to reach you. 3 months, I said calmly, straightening my jacket, just like I promised. Marcus stepped forward, his designer suit no longer carrying the same intimidating effect. Brother, we need to talk. We've all been worried. Worried? I cut him off, my voice level but firm. Like when you were worried about my broken hand? Or worried about my failed experiments? My father cleared his throat, his eyes fixed on the helicopter. Son, we may have misjudged. May have. I held up my healed but scared hand. You broke my hand because I wouldn't sign away my inheritance. An inheritance that's worth barely a fraction of what I've built on my home. The neighborhood had come alive with spectators. Phones were recording, people whispered behind their hands. The perfect family image they'd worked so hard to maintain was crumbling. Please, my mother pleaded, come inside. We can discuss this privately. I shook my head. No more private family meetings. No more hiding the truth. You wanted everyone to see me as the poor, failed son. Now everyone can see exactly who I am. Oliver approached with a tablet, displaying our company's latest valuation. I handed it to my father, watching his face pale as he read the numbers. This is billions, he stammered. That's right, I said. The son you call poor just revolutionized the energy industry, the inheritance you were so desperate to protect. I make that much in a single day now. Marcus tried to smile, to play it casual. Danny, we're family. Surely we can. Family? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Family doesn't break bones over money. Family doesn't mock and belittle. Family supports each other. I pulled out an envelope and handed it to my father. His hands trembled as he opened it. "What's this?" he asked. "The inheritance papers," I replied, "signed and notarized. I'm giving Marcus what he wanted so badly. He can have Grandpa's money." They stared at me in shock. "But why?" my mother asked. "Because Grandpa's real legacy wasn't money. It was his belief in innovation, in building something meaningful. He saw that in me, even when you couldn't. I don't need his money. I've built something far more valuable." Oliver signaled that we needed to leave for Tokyo. I turned back toward the helicopter, then paused. "You know what the funny thing is?" I said, looking back at them. "If you bothered to ask what I was working on, if you'd shown any interest in my failed experiments, you could have been part of this. Instead, you chose to judge by appearances." The helicopter blades began to spin. My father stepped forward, desperation in his eyes. "Daniel, please. We can fix this." I looked at my scared hand, then at their faces, finally seeing the fear behind their perfect facade. Some things can't be fixed with money or power. Some breaks leave permanent scars. As I climbed into the helicopter, I saw my mother crying, my father looking lost, and Marcus staring at the inheritance papers like they were suddenly worthless. "Tokyo awaits, sir," Oliver said as we lifted off. Looking down at my family growing smaller below, I felt no triumph, no satisfaction, only a sense of closure. They'd chosen their path, focused on maintaining appearances and controlling a modest inheritance. I'd chosen to build something revolutionary, something that would help millions. Grandpa would have been proud. As we flew toward the setting sun, I smiled, remembering his words. "Success isn't about what you have, Daniel. It's about what you create." He was right. And sometimes the greatest success is simply proving that you were never what others labeled you to be.